Well, people, we're back to the 204R automatic overdrive that's going into that 32 Ford. A very critical thing we're doing right now is the adjustment to the second gear band over here. That's the wide band that we put in. You have to make sure that these apply rods that go into the servo hole, which the servo is attached to, are adjusted very critically, because if they're put on too tight within the first few miles, they're going to just end up burning up this bag, so they'll be just jammed up against the reverse high drum, and you're going to have parts fighting themselves with each other, so that's not too good. So what we've had to do is, this is pretty much what the stock length was before, with some extra pins, and what we did was we had to grind it down about 75 thousandths of an inch, which Reg will show us over here. The difference, that's all the difference in the world it takes to have a band that's either going to work properly or just jam like crazy. Okay, we're just reassembling our components really quick to do the demonstration. Only one way they can go, believe me. See, what we're looking for is right in there, is we're looking for approximately 0.110 clearance between where the snapping will go on and the edge of the servo cover, which helps how the band's going to apply. See, when Reg pushes on it tight, the band is locked. He releases it a little bit, that's when it's released. So these adjustments are very, very critical on them. Alright, we will continue. We'll do a little bit more. You can remove that now, Reg. We'll put the new seals on, we'll get that in, and then we'll do our air pressure checks, which we'll demonstrate pretty soon. Alright, we're going to reassemble our intermediate servo over here. Have it soak the pieces in oil, of course. You want to have them so they don't get pinched or anything when you put them together. Lots of oil and everything. Just gently let them feel their way into each other. A little bit of twist, a little bit of turn, and there we go, right in like that. There's bits and pieces everywhere here. You want to go rolling around on you. And there like that. Everything's cocked to the side like that. Make sure it goes in straight. There we go. Of course, our apply spring. Some of these kits have you leave out that apply spring and put in just a solid metal piece or aluminum piece, but that's not good because that will end up breaking parts. And if we come over here, then this whole assembly all glued up, put together properly. We then stick it into there, and we'll put a new O-ring seal onto this over here actually first, but we'll show you just how this goes in before we do that. It goes into there, and then that'll apply, push into there, and we'll give it air pressure checks up over here soon. So we're pretty much on our way with doing this over here. There we go. Onwards we go. Now that we have the servo cover back on, clipped on, seals on, passage is plugged, we're going to do the ever important air pressure check. See the fan moving, it's locking, it's holding the drum nice. That's what we want to see. Now if you want to hold air pressure on for a second, please, Reg. See, it's locking the drum. Ready? It's locking, it's releasing the drum. Air pressure, please. Locking the drum again, so we know that we're pretty much safe. Again, please. Very important steps, cleaning out the valve body before we take out each valve individually to check it. And that's the CZ valve body, which means it's the higher performance, or the one set up with the different springs and valves for the firmer shifts in the Monte Carlo SS and Cutlass 442 model 200 R4s, 204Rs, whatever you want to call them. Important step to clean. We'll get into that pretty soon. Well, we've got the valve body all clean in the transmission, and we're going to see, after servicing that, making sure that all the valves are moving smoothly and freely enough inside the bore. There we go. Just basically just move the valves back and forth and see if they're going to move on their own. So far, so good. everything's moving okay. You want to stay away from, of course, any friction surfaces or anything like that, or any rubbing surfaces, because you do not want to score bores. That's moving just fine too. Moving just fine. Everything is moving just fine over here. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Everything looks a-okay, ready to put in. Some of it's out of camera view right now, unfortunately, but regardless, it's all working all right. Cleanliness, one step at a time for everything, will always pay dividends. You certainly do not want to have things messing up once you put these units back into cars, especially when there's really no room to work in them. And now for another critical part. It seems like everything is pretty critical with these things. Getting the check valves put into the right holes and spots into these valve bodies and into the transmission cases. Now this has had some sort of a shift kit, and one of the check valves was eliminated, and it happened to be this one over here. That's for the third accumulator, so that it gives you a little bit of a harder application in third gear as well too. And everything again is cleaned over here, like you can see. We have the what's called the 3/4 accumulator in, so depending on which way you install it, if you install it with the spring first and then the piston in, it'll give you a slightly softer 3/4 shift. Installing it with the piston in first and then the spring will give you a slightly harder 3/4 shift, and we do want a slightly harder shift in this vehicle. After all, it is a street rod, so it's got to have something like that. So we'll start with the process basically of putting in the check balls. By the way, you never want to use magnets to take these things out of the transmissions ever, because when they're magnetized, there's a good chance that they'll attract little bits of grit and dirt, metallic debris sticking into them, and then that can cause them to leak whenever they have to shift into their proper sequences, or seal up a particular hole in your separator plate, which is over here, which we still got to clean up. And just a quick side note to learn over here is you can generally tell how a vehicle has been driven, how hard it's been driven, is by the separator plate. You see that one right over there? I can reach with my finger, but it's just right over here where that teardrop is. You see it's sort of rounded on the edges. This means that this car was driven just a little bit more lively with a lot more pressure in it, with the balls slamming and banging as the car was shifting gears. It's not too bad though, because I've seen some with the holes almost punched or peened right through from the balls on these valve bodies. Now, a way you can circumvent that is a really dry spirit, is to put some sort of plastic, I forget what it's called, but they really seal well. That helps to circumvent the problem of making problems with your separator plate like that. But anyway, we'll go on. Continue putting the check balls in now. We're getting there. We're hitting the home stretch bit by bit. Just there. Let's see, we have one which goes over. Let's see, we have them all in. We have one that goes into that section over there too. And we're pretty much done on this end. So we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we have one that goes there. That one goes there like that. And you want to try to eliminate your guesswork with these things. Of course, we're leaving that one out over there too. And we have one that goes in there like that too. And we're pretty much done for this side of the valve body. We have our others which will go on the other side, and we'll progress. Get the valve body on soon. And now we have all the check valves properly placed into the transmission case section. A lot of the updates and the shift kits, you don't bother replacing this one over here. And that's for your throttle valve assembly. That's just omitted now, and a lot of them it's a pretty much a redundant part right now. But of course you have to have all your others in there, pretty important. And I decided to put the one back in for the third accumulator, because like I said, if there's a bit of a problem, we can easily just remove that, but all it just causes maybe just a slightly softer shift into third. But
that black cable.
Okay, documentation of the lock-up solenoid assembly for the torque converter.
It's got a little hook.
Brown wire comes up and around, power wire positive,
That end.
which will then go into the connector, which once attached to the vehicle will be our upper left hand towards the front. Will be the upper one in this
I'll
corner,
have to ask Howie about this.
which will be that. So turn the camera upside down so we can get how it looks like underneath the car. So it is this one over here. This is going to be our positive. I'll mark it with a marker in a second, so that way we'll know what's what. Perfect.
Oh,
Documented.
it's probably that little rod there.
Okay.
The rod that's still in the pan.
Yeah.